Are Nintendo games too easy? Now this is a question that I had since I replayed Mario Galaxy 2. Now this is something that stems from the game being actually difficult. Now if you look at games nowadays, you see that there's either a bunch of tutorials for these games that you're going to be playing, or the game just feels easy. But what exactly is this? Is it just because back in the day gamers were actually professional gamers, or is it more that nowadays people just want to sit back and relax, have a great time with their cup of coffee or whatever it is, and just play the game instead of struggling to beat the level? Like Mario Galaxy 2 is a great example of this because the platforming was actually really hard, and if you wanted to 100% the game, you really had to be either quick on your feet or just be really good at what you're doing in this game. It really begs you the question and says, okay, so if this is a harder game, what about nowadays? Mario Odyssey was a pretty hard game, but it definitely didn't feel the same as Mario Galaxy 2. To 100% that game, you really had to do special little tricks, and sometimes the game would straight up trick you. You can spend hours trying to get up this specific mountain, and then, oh no, that's just a one-up mushroom. Like, yesterday I was doing the one level that you had to go in between two little borders and then you had to speed up with Yoshi. But it turns out at the top of that was just a one-up mushroom. I honestly thought it was a star and I spent over 30 minutes trying to get it right. Also, getting some superstars, you really have to jump around these things that are cutting down, and if you fall off, well, you're starting back 5 minutes ago. So it's really interesting to me how games have definitely evolved. Games are easier now, and honestly, this stems for a lot of different games. Like, for example, Pokémon. Now, you knew I was probably going to go there at some point, but Pokemon games actually were really difficult once upon a time. Like, remember the good old Cynthia battle in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. Now, this is a very good one because when they did the remaster, they actually made that battle easier. So, it's really interesting to me. And also, before, you didn't have to sit down in about an hour tutorial learning the basics of the game. It pretty much just said, okay, you wake up, you talk to your mom, you get your bag, you go to the center, okay, you pick your starter, and you're off your adventure. It literally took like 10 minutes. So, was that maybe what made games easier, harder? Or did we just think, looking back at them, the games were definitely harder? Maybe we just sucked at gaming. Maybe nowadays, everyone's so good at playing video games that the games just are easy. They are really easy. I'm still not convinced on the whole that idea. Like, honestly, I remember playing The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild in 2017 and found that game hard. And then replaying it, I thought that game was easy. So I stayed myself at like 5 hearts the entire time. Maybe that's why. Maybe the whole thing here is everyone got so good at playing video games that the games feel easy. I still don't think that that necessarily is the case. We all consider Kirby games to be easy games nowadays, don't we? Kirby games are the pinnacle of easy games. They're fun, but really easy. But that wasn't always the case. If you look at a game like Triple Deluxe, that game was hard. Unless I sucked at video games, that game was actually difficult. Like, there's one level in particular, I was trying to get every single coin. I was trying to 100% the game. And I was there for so long, having to redo the level over and over again. And sometimes, you're really to 100% the game. If you miss one step, you have to do the whole level again. Honestly, it was just a harder game. Maybe we can even say the same thing for the original Luigi's Mansion. That game was honestly a more difficult game. Catching the little ghost and stuff was more difficult. Is it the controls that make it more difficult, or is it the gameplay itself? Because no matter what you play it on, the game feels definitely more difficult. What about, we would say, Super Smash Bros., the story mode of Super Smash Bros. Melee? That game was a little bit difficult. It wasn't super Dark Souls level difficult, but you still saw a little bit of difficulty in that game. So, overall, these are all great questions. These are all great things that you look at when you say, is gaming actually easier? And I think the question is, or the answer is, yes, games are easier nowadays, because I don't know if if you didn't grow up with gaming, you're just jumping in, you just want to sit down, have fun, well then playing a perfect game that's perfect for you is probably easier to find than ever. If you want an easier game with a fun experience, Kirby's the game for you. If you want to catch battle Pokemon, well then you can jump into Pokemon. Even if it's your first Pokemon game, you can still have a fantastic time against a player that's probably been playing for this game for over 20 years. Like, it's something that you look at and you're like, okay, so maybe they're trying to shift things so more players get the accessibility of playing video games. Because video games are fun. They're a fun pastime. They're honestly a really, really great source of amusement. But if everyone can play the game, then you have even more players to play the game. Maybe this is why the games are easier, I would say. But it's not all games that are super easy. Some games are even known for being super difficult. Dark Souls, of course. A lot of players love a more difficult sort of game. And the Scythia battle in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl was really recognized as being a hard battle. How many Pokemon have you lost fighting the champion? After doing all the Elite Four, fighting the champion, nope, you're getting wiped out with a Gyarados, or wiped out with Dragonite, or whatever it is, I forget the Pokemon, but you're getting wiped out with this Pokemon. And you're like, oh man, I'm almost done with this game, I'm gonna throw my DS out the window. Now it's a little bit more, you don't throw your DS out the window, you sit back, click one button. I feel like Pokemon definitely should have been a more hard game. That is one of the few games that actually should be more difficult, because that is more like a turn-based RPG, and those should be more difficult, so you're actually sitting there thinking, okay, I gotta use fire against a grass type, I gotta use water against this type. Right now it's just like click one button, you're good to go. Maybe that's why it's easier, maybe for the casual fan. I remember struggling with that game for so long, especially the level up system. Now, honestly, I'm happy that XP share is there because, oh my goodness, it was so hard. You really had one Pokemon that was the strongest of all your Pokemon. You had a level 5 Bidoof on your team all the time, and it was just a crazy mess. But overall, I think the Legend of Zelda definitely also was harder in some degree. Maybe it was just the Wii games like Skyward Sword. That game was honestly more difficult than Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. Maybe because Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are open world games, or is it something different than you can say? Twilight Princess was also a pretty difficult game, and maybe we can even say something about A Link Between Worlds. Now, although this game wasn't exactly a difficult game, it still held a challenge in some boss fights in the game, especially if you didn't have the exact weapon or you didn't have all of your items upgraded to the maximum. You definitely found some challenge. So all the games seem like, or the earlier games seem like they were more difficult, and I think that everyone can agree that those games definitely were very difficult. They were harder. You really had to put yourself to the test, stare at the screen, be like, okay, I got this, darn it, I fell off the cliff, okay, restart, all right, I got this, fall off the cliff, man, I'm gonna give up. Now it's just like, okay, I fell off the cliff. Like Mario Galaxy, they really had to do an assist mode because that game was hard. They had to do it. Honestly, I've been using the assist mode. I'm not scared to say I've been using the assist mode because that game is hard. Yep, I suck at video games. That game right there is hard. Anyways, what do you think about this? Do you think that games have actually gotten easier over time, and eventually games are just going to be too easy that you can play with your toes? So instead of holding the controller, you can play with your toes. I'm sure some very talented people out there can obviously play video games with their toes, but hey, games definitely used to be harder. Anyways, what do you think about all of this? Let me know in the comments section down below, and consider to hit the like button, maybe subscribing if you're new. I do a bunch of different Nintendo content, and with that being said, hope you have a fantastic day, and see you in the next one.